So my last video, I promised you that I would talk about some of the brown stuff that's happening down in my lawn, still from winter, and also talk about some dethatching because I got some questions this week about the dethatching process. On cool season lawns, when should it happen and why do you need to do it and all that stuff. So today I'll talk about some of those details and go over what's going on in my yard as well. So apparently I forgot that I don't have my hat on. Let me fix that real quick. So the first question that we need to answer then is, what is thatch and do you need to deal with it in your yard? So thatch is going to be a buildup of organic matter right near the soil layer, and having some of this there is totally fine. It will actually help to protect the soil, especially from summer heat, and having that little layer there is nice to have. But once it starts to get to more than a ½ an inch, you're going to notice some areas in your lawn that might be struggling. And the reason for this, if you think about it, is that layer is just prohibiting some of the water getting to the soil, some of the nutrients of getting to the soil, and that buildup is causing an issue. So how do you figure out whether you need to dethatch? The first thing I'm going to do is just go and inspect the lawn, go and inspect the actual root zone there. So the first thing you want to do is just peel back some of the grass and inspect down in there what things are looking like. So I've done that here, and you will notice some brown down in there, and that's completely normal down at the crowns of the plant. There's still going to be some stuff left over from winter, but for the most part it looks pretty good, and I can see all the way down to the soil layer, which means I'm not seeing a buildup of that thatch. And so for me here, I could maybe try to clean out some of that brown, but for the most part you're not noticing it at all if you look across the lawn. You're just noticing it if you kind of dig down into the soil layer there. So another easy thing you can do if you happen to have a soil probe is go out into the lawn, take a core, and then check the actual thatch layer with that. Those are amazingly nice tools to have, especially in these cases when you need to go check an area and just take a look at a core. If you don't have one, you could take a little slice out of the lawn with a small garden shovel or something and then put that right back in place just to check the thatch layer. So you could do that too. If you do have one of these tools though, I'm gonna actually grab a core right now and show you what it looks like on my lawn. All right, so here's the core from my lawn, and what you're gonna see here up at the top is, I'll get rid of this grass here. There's still, as I said, some leftover brown stuff from the winter time. What we're gonna do is try to pull all that stuff off of there and actually get to the actual thatch. So now you can actually see the thatch. It's basically this layer of brown stuff right there, and that's the actual organic matter. So you can see I just have a small little layer, nothing to worry about at this point. Not surprised by that because last summer I actually went through, did a really heavy dethatch on my backyard in order to get it so that I could cut it down lower because I was cutting it a lot higher. In order for my mower to actually get through that, you've got to cut that down and get through some of this thatch and remove it so that you can start cutting lower and training the plant. So for those of you who have asked, how do you actually start getting your lawn lower? I showed that in a couple videos last year. There's a reel mower versus rotary mower where I showed what would happen if you just cut down into the lawn as it is, if it's tall. So you can check out that video, and also the thinning of the lawn video. We'll try to link to both of those here. So if you get to this point and you realize that you do have a thatch layer, then the question is, when should you take care of it for cool season lawns? And also, what are the best tools to do that? So here it's been an extremely weird year. I would not usually tell you in May to start dethatching for most areas because you're gonna quickly get to hot temperatures. And this needs a little recovery time if you're going to dig into it pretty heavily. But now it's a really weird year going on right now, so I can't really tell you if it's a good idea or it isn't, because our forecast right now, and it's currently where I'm sitting right now, the wind chill is 43 degrees outside here, so I have no idea what's going on. But in a typical year, if you decided to do it in the spring, probably after a couple of good mows. Now, ideal, as in most things with cool season lawns, would be to start this right sort of at the beginning of fall, and it has all of that fall time to recover, and I like to do all of my heavy fall fertilizing anyway. This will help with recovery as well, and so the fall time would be absolutely best if you can do that. I know some of you though right now might have some cool weather coming yet, and if you have a few weeks yet before you're noticing any warmer temperatures, you might be able to still dig into this now and get some recovery time happening. So how about the tools that you could use to actually get rid of this thatch? Number one is a manual thatching rake, and I have one of these. I've used it a few times over the years, and I made a standalone video about it a while back now. It's probably been 3 years or so. But this tool really works well. The only thing is it's complete manpower and it is a workout. So if you're going to try to do a large area with this, it can be done, and I'm sure there's going to be be people who go down in the comments right now and say, you can't use that tool for a bigger yard. You can, because I know people who have, but they have to do it in sections, and you have to do it over time and not try to tackle too much of an area at once. So that would be number one. If you just like to get outside and do a workout, a manual thatching rake can work for you. You're just gonna have to take some time to do it. If you want a quicker option, these electric dethatchers are awesome to have. I use them all the time in renovations. Over the years, I've used them various times for dethatching as well. And for the price of them, I really think it's a good value and something that you might wanna own if you're getting into lawn care. So I have a Greenworks one here that I've used over the years many times. I still enjoy it. I still recommend it to people. There's other ones available on Amazon or wherever you wanna look. And so you can kind of make a decision. This is personally the only one that I have used. I haven't used any of the other brands, but this one has worked well for me. Then we step up to the big bad boy, which is my Swardman reel mower, which has a cartridge that I can put in to do some dethatching. That thing is an absolute beast in the Electra, and that's what I've been using recently because it's just the best option for me to get things done quickly. So today I don't have a thatch problem, but I did show you in my last video that I have some brown winter stuff that's still happening in my lawn. So I want to show you what some options are for that. Now, if you don't want to do anything with that, you don't have a thatch buildup, you can leave this grass there and it's going to sort of decompose over time. But what I noticed is I haven't done any dethatching on that area outside of the fence. It doesn't have an extreme thatch buildup by any means. There's a lot of stuff left over there from either last summer, just some gross stuff that was in there, and then also going into our dormant season of winter. The lawn completely goes dormant and brown, and we have to kind of shed off all of that brown stuff before we get to a really nice looking lawn here in the springtime. But again, things are really lagging here this spring. I have a few weeks here of time yet before it looks like it's even going to get warm. So I'm going to go ahead and try to remove some of this brown stuff that's down in there and let the actual existing lawn breathe a little better. And let's show you how to do that. So you might notice some areas that are sort of more yellow than others, and you can tell just by going down in here and looking that there's still left over a bunch of stuff from the winter time. So I'm gonna take this thatching tool and I'll show you what will happen. On this side right here, these straight tines, these are the actual ones that will rip out the thatch. And you're gonna damage some of the grass, which is why I said that you wanna make sure you're doing this when it has some time to recover, but minimally, there's not much green grass in there, and there's a lot of brown. Here's an example too of what thatch would kind of look like. See all this stuff, like just these little roots and kind of wispy stuff, so that would be what the thatch should look like. It's a little heavier in this spot. Still, I can see down to the soil, but you will notice it's a little heavier. Now here's another area where you can see a lot of yellow. So again, you can tell there's just a bunch of stuff that could be removed out of there. So I'll again get that manual dethatcher and see how it does right here. You've got all of your green left there. All of that dead stuff is out of there. You can see down to the soil, and here's what was in there. It's truly pretty amazing the first time you do this. You didn't think was a problem or that you didn't really notice, and then you come up with that. Right, so now whatever you're left with for debris, you can actually just go ahead and rake up. Or the easiest thing is that if you have a rotary mower with a bag on it, that you can use that. That will help pick up all this dead stuff that was left. You definitely can use a rake though, if you want to. Also make sure your lawn is cut down a little shorter. It's at 2.5 inches for me right here. Much taller than that, and you're gonna have some issues kind of trying to get that rake just through the grass. So best case scenario is have it cut down just a little lower before you try to do this. One other thing to note as well is that our cool season grasses like tall fescue, perennial ryegrass that are more bunch stripe grasses, these usually do not get quite as thatchy, but most people have a lot of a mix of grasses as far as cool season go. So you might have some fescue in there, you might have some rye, you might have some bluegrass. Bluegrass is definitely a culprit for getting kind of thatchy on its own. It forms that really thick dense sod and it can get kind of thatchy. So especially like me, I have a full bluegrass backyard. I have to kind of keep up on this. I can't say exactly how often, but I do it, but probably once every couple years or so. If you're maintaining things properly, it shouldn't build up too bad. Just keep an eye on it as far as bluegrass goes, specifically if you have bluegrass. Because of that thick, dense sod that it forms, it can get a little more thatchy than the other types.
When everyone around me drops, I'm never gonna ever stop. I won't waste another minute, no, I won't. I'm a man on a mission. I'm a man on a mission.
So I told you that thing was a beast, and it really is. It's one of the things I love the most about the Electra, is that sort of regenerative feature that it has where the reel spins extra fast, and you can do a lot of these renovation type things with it. It's awesome. It's really actually very cold out here. It looks nice, I'm sure, on camera with the sun, but it's not very warm.
Even at the mountaintop, I'm never gonna ever stop. I won't wait another minute, no, I won't. I'm a man on a mission.
Right, so as I said, this is going to cause some stress to the lawn, so the best thing that you can do now is you could put maybe a dose of fertilizer on it if there's some rain coming up, or for me, as I said, I'm going into a cooler period here, so I'm not too worried about putting a little stress on it and then letting it recover here in the next couple weeks. But if I see some rain coming, I'm probably going to put a dose of fertilizer on it just to get some strength back to it. Also, the most important thing that you can do now is keep up frequent mowing on it and not let it get out of control. So frequent mowing is the best thing you can do for it right now as well. And then a dose of fertilizer is certainly not going to hurt, but if it starts to grow quickly, make sure you're mowing it every couple days as that fertilizer is working. So I hope that was helpful today on learning a little bit about dethatching. Thanks so much for watching this video. We'll see you next time.